This episode of BTP Daily is brought to you by K Rico Coffee, man. One of the best coffee places you can go to, and they're also selling coffee for everyone all over the place. But it's nice to have some coffee at home. It's also nice to have some coffee somewhere else, but it's also tremendous to go have some over at K Rico Coffee. For those of you that live down in South Florida, definitely a place you want to go to. It's over at 2728 Hollywood Boulevard in Hollywood. And you will enjoy it. JR and the gang have some tremendous coffee, have some tremendous types of coffee recipes and all this other good stuff that you will definitely enjoy. But more what you will enjoy, other than the coffee, let me be completely honest with you on this one, is the people. You go in there, you chat, they talk. What a concept, right? People talking nowadays face to face and, actually caring about what you say. And no need to really look at your cell phone in any way, shape, or form. Yeah, K Rico Coffee gives you that more human experience, that human touch, because they care so much about their craft, but they also care so much about making you, the consumer, happy with your cup of coffee. Whatever type of coffee you might like, everybody has different tastes, everybody has different likes. K Rico Coffee has it for you. K Rico Coffee. It's the people that make coffee good.
Fidel Kuri is probably worse than some of the worst owners you have ever heard of in professional sports. Has had zero regard for his players, for his club, for anyone that disagrees with him. He really tries to run over them in nearly Trumpian manner. Fidel Kuri, who ironically, his coach prior to kickoff, he has an interim coach, and you cannot make this up. His interim coach, Hugo Chavez. And it just seems so poetic at times to see a team that has been mismanaged, mishandled, and really disgusting what's been going on as far as what has gone on there. And he was pretty much an unlikely hero being a total villain. And what I mean by that is he's interviewed on Spanish television and he admits, hey, you know what? There's double contracts everywhere. Mind you, he's having a couple of nice, fine Italian wines somewhere in wine country in Italy. And now the Mexican government seems like they're going to investigate. It's about one of the craziest things that you could hear about how the Mexican football is treated. And of course, on this side of the border, we talk about how things in Major League Soccer are or aren't, depending on how this, depending on salaries, depending on how limited the players are and who owns their contracts and who owns their capability of moving from one club to the next or one league to the next. Well, in Mexico, it's infamous and people know about the Gentleman's Pact, the Pacto de Caballeros that is going on. And you know that what goes on in Mexico is part of the reason why you see Liga MX at times struggling to really get a foothold on the game or make their league more powerful than it can be or that it actually is. That's, again, one of the biggest problems that Mexican football is facing. Some of their ownership, some of their leadership. Because a lot of times Fidel Kuri gets suspended by the Mexican Football Federation, but then all of a sudden that, whenever there's a vote and whenever there's a need for him to really come in and pitch in as far as a specific topic, we'll lift the ban. Come and vote. We need your vote. We need this. We need that. And we need the other. And all of a sudden, it's free. So he can do and say whatever he wants. Those suspensions that they have on him, it really doesn't matter. They can say and do whatever they want. And what I mean by they are owners like Fidel Kuri. Hearing what he said on television, The doors are open for everyone, but then they're shut for some others. And I say that last part in jest, but you understand that Kuri has always been one of the most controversial, and not because of his desire to help out players. It's because of his dictatorial style of really running a club. So you start to see what goes on with individuals such as him. You hear and you see what goes on on their social media accounts, which are pretty much run by him, and to a certain extent. It was interesting to see that a Mexican journalist came out and said, was talking about sticking to his sources and saying, hey, you know what, that has to be reported. And of course, Kuri gets into a whole back and forth with him and says, hey, you know what, son, you aren't like your father. So I don't know how this individual, I know how he got it. Of course, he had the money, and you pay for a franchise, and that's pretty much it. There's little, and if there's something about Mexican football that you can say, is that Mexican football really doesn't have a significant vetting process as far as the capital, as far as the ability to find the right ownership groups that can provide a healthy environment for Mexican football. If that were the case, well, Lobos WAP wouldn't be playing again in the first division with a $100,000 fine that they had to pay a slap in the wrist for not being good enough. They were relegated, if not for the instability at the lower levels. Well, Lobos WAP wouldn't be in the first division. Just like a few years back when Querétaro ends up being relegated. Well, they sell the franchise, somebody else buys it, takes it somewhere else, calls it somewhere else. Blah, blah, blah. All of a sudden, Querétaro are back in first division. So those are the things that go on in Mexican football that really have to be talked about. Individuals like Fidel Kuri, who right now opened one of the most interesting and most smelly can of worms you could probably open up. And that is going to be so difficult to cover back up, because what you end up finding in those contracts, or contract that he signs with this guy until this time and another that can end up being a very, very dangerous situation for Mexican football if what Fidel Kuri says is true.